Now we're hearing more stories from the front lines of Ukraine this morning as thousands of residents try and flee to countries in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, the humanitarian crisis continues to unfold in refugee centers near the borders of Ukraine, but regular citizens and people from all over the world are stepping up to help out in any way they can. One of those people is Terrell Jermaine Starr, senior fellow at the Atlantic Council's Eurasia Center. Terrell actually joined us 2 weeks ago, as you may remember, from Kyiv as the invasion was just getting started in Ukraine, driving in his car with his friend who was signing up to fight. Andre, I believe is his name. He's been helping people get out of the country. And now today, he's near the border in Uzhgorod. Terrell, thank you so much for being with us again today. We actually know that you just traveled all the way to Lviv, that's that far western city, to help a Ukrainian woman leave the country so she could get medical treatment in Lithuania. Tell us about the journey. Tell us about what you encountered on the way out of the country and what it was like to help her out.
Thank you very much for having me. So first of all, the person, her name is Irina, and we escorted her and her family to Lviv, where a bus bound for Lithuania was set to take them and dozens of other people out of the country. And so what is that journey like? Well, getting from Kiev to Lviv, generally speaking, if you're going on a train, for example, would take about 6 or 7 hours. But on the road, and given the circumstances and the dozens of checkpoints, roughly about 30 of them that you have to go through on your way there, makes that trip more like a day and a half. So what we saw was sirens constantly going off, not knowing exactly where you're going to stay, because it's not a matter of money. It's a matter of can you find a home or a group of people who are willing to open up their, who have good hearts, that are open up to give you a room. In our case, our midpoint was Ternopil, which is 2 hours outside of Lviv. And so this family fortunately had an entire apartment to host myself, Andre, and Irina's entire family. And so what it really depends on right now to get to basically take refugees from Kiev, from these hot points to the border, are open hearts, a lot of local knowledge, a lot of local language, and just goodwill. Because once you get out of these hot zones, you still have a very challenging road ahead, and it's all based on contacts and goodwill.
Thank goodness for those helpers all along the way. Wow. I mean, Terrell, over the last couple of weeks, tell us about any of the people who you've met who just really stand out, some of the stories that really have inspired you over the last couple of weeks.
Well, it starts off with Andre. And by the way, I'm a working journalist myself. So in addition to covering this war, this Russia waged war against Ukraine, I'm also deciding that I'm going to involve myself in the humanitarian efforts of moving people out. What you see is a country that has decided to unite against Russian aggression, whereby they say that, excuse me, we are not going to get on our knees and succumb to Putin's abuse. Andre is a prime example of that. At first, he started off as a member of the territorial defense units. Once he realized that his role there was not as effective as it could have been, he moved into, from holding a Kalashnikov to escorting people, driving hours upon hours nonstop from Kiev to one part of the country. And again, it's a very taxing thing. One part of this that people don't understand is that you could usually go from Kiev to, let's say, Uzhgorod or Lviv with 1 tank of gas. Because of the checkpoints and that you have to idle for hours on end, you may have to go through 3 or 4 tanks of gas for one trip that ordinarily will require 1. So it's expensive. And so you have people like Andre who are not rich, who are not wealthy, or who are going out of their way to assist. So he's a prime example of that, and somebody who took his own family to Poland for safety, but he stayed behind. Well, he has to stay behind because he's a man. And if you're between the ages of 18 and 60, Ukrainian government will not let you cross that border. And so while he is there, he's making ample use of his time.
Absolutely. I was actually going to ask you for an update on him, so that's so great to hear, Terrell, that he's safe. Terrell, what is your plan now? Do you intend to keep on helping people move out of the country as things sort of deteriorate there? What's next?
Yeah, so I am going to continue to be here in Ukraine. I am going to assist as many people as possible logistically to get from whatever point to the other, particularly those who are in Sumi. I'm deeply concerned about them, these African students, the foreign, the Indian students, the foreign students who are there. I'm definitely focused on helping them logistically to get from point A to point B. There are a number of people here who are willing to help them, but the people who need the most help don't understand how to connect. And so I'm using my platform in order to help do so, while at the same time working as an independent journalist to capture these stories, to capture video, and to document these cases of how people are coming together and how people are escaping Putin's brutality.
Terrell Jermaine Starr, thank you so much for everything you're doing and for keeping us updated. And please continue to check in with us throughout everything you're doing there in Ukraine. Take care.
Yeah, we definitely want to keep hearing. Thanks, Terrell.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.